Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's panel discussion on self-publishing, a part of Newport News Public Library's Local Authors 2022 event. You can also catch this panel online, streaming on our Facebook page. And we're also taking questions both in person and on the stream. So if you want to ask any questions, just message them and they'll be conveyed to our panelists. Before we begin, I'm going to give our panelists some time to introduce themselves. Just a few minutes, maybe 3, just to discuss their work and let you know who they are. Without further ado.
Good evening. I'm Caterina Navolere, and I'm in my 9th year of publishing and just released my 4th full-length novel, but it's my 5th book because I have a short novella out there as well. I write historical fiction and then a genre known as romantic historical fantasy that combines romance novels and the fantasy genre together. And then I also write time travel romance. And I've chosen to write in those genres because I absolutely love history and I'm a sucker for a good love story.
I'm Jim Gudritis, and maybe your first question is, should I get a pen name? I did Kenneth James. I took my first name, James Kenneth, and flipped them because if you're going to meet somebody and try to sell your book, you can't say it's Dog Star Night by Jim Gudritis, because then you're going Giedrai. So if you have a long name, find a pen name. That's my advice. I wrote out of inspiration. I woke up with an idea right before COVID hit. And because of COVID and isolation, I just started writing. It started out, I thought I'd have a small children's book. It turned into a 170-page middle grade book. So I'm a middle grade author. I have one book. I'm not sure I'll ever do another one. It took a lot of work, a lot of time, and it takes a lot of help and a lot of effort from other people.
Hi, I'm Jane Ormerod, and I also write under an assumed name, and my advice is get something you can write while you're drinking wine, because I start writing my real name, and it is nothing like this name. So I write coastal cozies with a splash of humor. I grew up in a small Ohio town, went to a small town Ohio college. I was blinded by the dress whites. ROTC officer walked across campus, and we got married. 19 moves later, we've settled into a little house by the Chesapeake Bay, where I kill people for a living in the literary sense. I have 2 novels, 6 novellas, and 8 short stories published through traditional, mid-size, and self-publishing. So I've done the whole gamut, and be happy to answer any questions, but I'm so glad to see you all here tonight. I just love talking to other writers.
Good evening. I'm Terry Gunnels. That's my real name. Yeah, people have asked me, do you write under a pen name? No, I don't. My only reason for this is not any form of criticism, is I don't do anything that I will not put my own name to. And that's the only reason. And I happen to like my name. But anyway, the genre that I've been writing in is action adventure. I have 2 of my books here. The 3rd one will be out. Actually, I have 1 and 2 here, 1 and 3. 2 will be out in a few weeks. Somehow I managed to get the 3rd one out before the 2nd one. Different publishers, and one of them really dug in and did a great job. The 2nd one's dragging their feet. But yeah, I've actually been writing less than 2 years, and I'm working on the 5th book already. I got started, like I said, about 18 months ago. I was working. I fell and broke my shoulder. I could not work. So I sat down, and 6 weeks later, I had a rough draft of this manuscript right here. 8 months later, this book came out. So I've gotten a lot of good response. It is on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and out of the 10 reviews that I have, 8 were all 5-star. The other were 2, the other 2 were 4 stars. So I'm very proud of that, very proud of all of them. And, I guess all I can end with is when you come to the book signing this Saturday, buy my book. So, thank you very much for being here.
Good evening, everyone. I write as J.R. L'Esperance. My Muggle name, I guess you could say, is Jen Goslin. The J and the R are my real names, and L'Esperance is actually an ode to my great-grandmother, and that was her maiden name. It's French. We're a big French-Canadian family, so. My book is called Cardinal Virtue. It's a mystery book. I mostly write fiction. I've been writing since as long as I can remember. I was one of those kind of awkward middle school kids that always had like a spiral notebook that you pass around with your friends and you kind of like have this long story that you're writing together. So been doing that for a very long time. I'm working on the second book right now, and in fact, actually, that's probably where I should be, is at home and writing that, or editing it, I should say. But I'm actually very happy to be here with you guys and to answer any questions that you might have. And whether you think so or not, every single one of you is a writer. So it just takes a few clicks to be able to get up here and talk with us. But yeah, so I was a teacher for about 4 years, right here in Newport News at Menchville High School. Go Monarchs. Yeah. I was a history teacher, so of course I'm very excited to hear about historical. I'm gonna be looking up your books here. I like to write in pretty much all sorts of genres, but right now I'm kind of in the mystery realm right now. And the reason I used a pen name was because I was a teacher at the time, and I wasn't sure I wanted my high school kids to find books about, me killing people as well. So, well, not me. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. Not me. My characters. So I suppose I could probably take my name back because I'm unfortunately not a teacher anymore, but I'm still educating in a different way. But yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited to be here on Saturday. So come see us all and give us a whoop whoop. And yeah, so.
Hello, I'm Rachel Pace. I'm the IT person who just happened to write a book. This really kind of started out as writing down stories about my childhood from memories to try to have for later for my daughter and others, and it kind of just came together into a book. So my book is really about little vignettes and stories of my childhood. It's more of a memoir. It's not, the genre I guess would be memoir, but a lot of rural humor because I grew up in rural Louisiana in kind of a very small town with a lot of your normal small town things that you might think about. So I am not going to be here on Saturday because I have a daughter getting married on that day, but I do appreciate you considering my book. It is on Amazon, and it's called Growing Up Reeks.
Awesome. Good evening, everyone. I'm Evelyn Johnson. I am a nonfiction writer. I've been writing for a long, long time. I started with my memoir when I was a little girl. But strangely enough, and life happens, it ended up being my second book. And it was not self-published. I had 2 authors, 2 publishers. My first book, which came after my original first book, if that makes sense to you. My memoir came second, okay? So my first published book was not by me. It was a publisher, and I spent a lot of money on that. With that book in mind, then when I was in seminary, I wrote my first book, which was really supposed to be my second book. And then my second book, which was supposed to be my first book, was also published by a traditional publisher. But lo and behold, time and things, happen and circumstances, and I decided that I was going to rewrite my first and my second book, and then self-publish it. I self-published on Amazon, Kindle Direct. And then my dissertation from Regent University, what I did is, that's the one I'm going to showcase tomorrow. I eliminated the charts and all of that to make it more so that people who are not in school can read the book and understand it. It's about the connection between the blacks and African Americans and Latinos. Yeah, because that's my heritage. I'm American, but Puerto Rican too. And then the other book that I have, I wrote about, and that's not showcasing yet, all the struggles that my husband and I, rest in peace, suffered, endured while he had home health care. So that I'm doing in 2 volumes. This is my first volume, but I self-published it. So if you have any questions about it, how to, whatever, I'm here to answer your questions. I'm very excited about this. The last time I was here at the library, I didn't know about the discussion panel. So once I found out about it from Ms. Bright, hey, yoo-hoo, yeah, I said, I'm going over there. I meet these amazing, amazing authors. I met Terry already via telephone. I said, what are we supposed to bring? He says, I don't know. And I said, well, I'm in the same boat. We're in the same boat, but, this ship is not going to sink. So we're going to rise above the water, right? And we're going to be here for the community. And if you have any questions, I'm here. And I see some of my friends here from church, Sister Channel. I see her next year over here, too. Because she wrote a book, too. So I am so excited. So it's good to see all your smiling faces, everybody. I think that's about it. Evelyn Johnson. It's my real name, Evelyn Mercado Johnson. No pants, and I've asked the Lord, I said, can I do a novel? No, it's not. Everything is factual. It's just not it. It's just not it. They're the ones, and then give it to them. Okay.
All right. So I can't use without further ado again. So now we can open the floor to questions, both present and online, of course. Oh.
Looking out. Are you on? Are you published through Kindle, Amazon Kindle? Well, let me tell you, if you are in the Kindle Direct Publishing, okay, you go in there and you see they have where you could do the global. That's one thing. Have you done that? Are you in the reading program where they could read in Japan and everywhere? Okay. Type in your book and your name, and you'll see all these people who are, Barnes and Noble and all of that. Now, if you do want them on the shelf, then you have to get in contact with someone who is the marketing for that Barnes and Noble, wherever other place that you want to, have your book on the shelf. That's different than having it online. Right, so when you contact Barnes & Noble, because that's what I did, they're going to ask you for a sort of like a proposal and all that. Then they pass it on to their marketing, promotion people. Yeah, right.
You want to get this? I'm sure that some of my panelist mates here will be able to speak a little bit more to this because I myself have not actually put my books up on this thing I'm about to mention yet, but I've actually been thinking about it lately. There is a program website called Ingram Sparks. Ingram Sparks? Spark, yes. and you can put your books on there, and it will put your books wide, right? Barnes & Noble, Apple, and all of that. I'll let you go.
Ingram Spark is who you want to distribute with if you want a print book in a store. So ebooks, you can go with KDP, you can go with a conglomerator, like Draft to Digital, which, you know, distributes ebooks wide for you, so not just Amazon, but every major online retailer or Smashwords. Sorry, I'm a little nervous tonight. But Ingram Spark, if you have a paperback, is where you want to be. That gets you into the indie bookstores and all the major retailers outside of Amazon, because there is some competitiveness between Amazon and those retailers. So sometimes they won't take the paperbacks from KDP.
So the logic behind this is, if you don't go through Ingram Sparks, other publishers will not take returns. Barnes & Noble will not sell any book that won't take returns of paperbacks. Now, I have heard of a few people that have gone into Barnes & Noble locally and said, if you carry my book, I will buy back what you have. But yes, if you go through Ingram Sparks, ISBN numbers, last I heard, are about $100 each, and you upload it to them. You still have to sell it to Barnes & Noble. They get a catalog every year, and they pick the books they want. So it's really hard to get into Barnes & Noble on a small book, unless you throw a ton of money behind it. But you can do it if you're on Ingram Spark. Ingram Spark, I understand, will also do your ebook, too. You need a separate ISBN number for each one of those. So that's $200 right there. I think you can buy 10 for a chunk of change, and they're good forever. I haven't bought any lately. I'm still working on my first 10. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but if you're self-publishing and want it printed, you need to go through Ingram.
My apologies for interrupting. I just had to steal one of your mics so the audience can be heard on stream, and I can.
I just have a related question. Oh. Is there a list of these published sites that you've already mentioned? Because I don't know, is Ingram like, you know, INGRAHAM? I mean, is there a list where I can find these so that I can do the research?
Well, a lot of retailers do go in, you know, look in the catalog for Ingram. My wife, about once a week, looks through, and she doesn't look through that list, but I don't know how she does it, but she'll, oh, do you know there's a library in New Mexico named so-and-so, I think it's Santa Barbara or something like that. They have a copy of your book. And then she'll come back, so-and-so has a copy of a book here, you know, and there. And so if you get on Ingram, then you can keep up with an idea of where your books are actually going to. And I was very lucky. They only pay out royalties every 6 months. My book came out, this first one came out in February. In July, I was getting royalties off of it, and it was just listed on Ingram. Now you can physically go into bookstores, and I'll do that. We can go on vacation. I'll take a little package in there, and okay, my book has been featured. This one right here, my book was actually featured in the LA Times Festival of Books. And I'll go in, hey, it was featured here, and the Newport News Library has a copy of my book. In this library, the idea is when you're going into a bookstore, you sell. Then you're selling. How do I know your book is going to sell? Because it was listed here, and because it's here and there. When you self-publish, you do a whole lot of selling the books yourself, which is why every one of us are here. We're all hoping when this is over that you will buy books from us. Yeah, that's what it's about. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, just if you get on Ingram, you can see who's picking it up, and that gives you a little bit more ammunition when you walk into, you know, to a bookstore to say you need to buy it or you need to carry it because it's carried here, and if it wasn't any good, they wouldn't.
So I have two versions of my book. This version is done with KDP and Ingram Spark, and it's distributed, so you'd see it on Amazon or it's at Barnes & Noble. But it's in black and white, which is relatively cheap to print, so it's good for marketing. I have a $12.99 book. But I had really nice artwork, and I wanted to feature my artwork. So to do that, what I did is I go to Ingram Spark, who prints the book, so I can buy print author copies of the book, but I don't distribute it. I'll sell it at the book fair because I can sell it at a book fair for $17, but if it were online, it'd be $30 for a color book. I don't want a $30 color book online competing with my, $12 book. But to do the color book and not distribute, you have to do Ingram Spark. If you do KDP, you have to distribute. You don't have a choice, so put it online. If you were to buy an author copy of your book that's not distributed on KDP, it'll have proof written all over it. So that's just another consideration if you're just intending to do book fairs.
So if you're really just looking for print, your choices are Ingram Spark, which can go everywhere, or you can do print copies on Amazon. That's the only place people can buy them is on Amazon. You totally control the price. You upload it. I mean, there's whole workshops on how to upload to Amazon and get your book out there. Depending on the page count, at the very end, they'll say this is going to cost, I think this one right now costs $3.50 to print. I sell it for $10, and all of that extra money goes towards my marketing. It's not income yet. So if you're talking print, those are your two choices. I have in a series of novellas, we did 2 through Ingram Spark and 2 through Amazon. Like I said, if you have it on Amazon, it can't print anywhere else. I sell way more on Amazon than what I give up by going through Ingram Sparks, because they keep a chunk. So everybody has their hand out. When you do the self-publishing on the ebooks, everybody has their hand out and takes a little bit of that money. So I hope nobody doesn't think this is a get-rich-quick scheme, because it's not, but it's a lot of fun, and it's really worthwhile to see your literary baby in print. Does that answer your question?
Oh, I was just curious about the names of these organizations that you use. I've done some research on my own. I'm sympathetic with this lady because I come from a small town of Sac, Mississippi, 400,000 people. And I also am working on book 3 of a criminal urban romance, which also has a lot of history in it.
So that's just for print books. E-books, you have so many more options. Yeah.
I want to talk.
Katerina, you mentioned a place to publish online, which you thought was preferential, that kind of gave a universal.
There are websites that, instead of having to upload to Apple and Google Books and Kobo and all these individual bookseller sites that are conglomerators, the main 2 big ones were Smashwords and Draft2Digital. And I believe Draft2Digital just purchased Smashwords, so Draft2Digital is kind of the king in that field. They're real easy. You upload the book in one place. They have templates to help with formatting, and they double check that your cover looks good and that you have all their people will review it just like Amazon does. Make sure your ISBNs are good, your book's formatted, it looks professional, and then they'll distribute that out to all the different ebook sites in the international community. So it could end up in Italy, it could end up in Australia, it could end up all over the place, and that's another route to go if you don't want to go solely exclusive with Amazon. It's what they call going wide in the publishing industry. It's more universal, and why they do have a print program in beta, it's more ebook focused. So if you want to reach the ebook market wide without having to upload to all these individual sites, I would explore uploading with somebody like Draft2Digital.
Who did you say bought Smashwords?
Draft2Digital, D-R-A-F-T,
Gotcha.
2 and then digital, the number 2. Yep.
Digital takes a part of what Apple takes in, and then you get
Yep.
Can
Yep.
you publish in two places? Could you publish in Smash and also Amazon?
As long as you are not KDP Select, if you make yourself exclusive on Amazon and you publish anywhere else, they will cancel your author account. So do not make yourself exclusive on Amazon if you want to go that route.
What did you call that, Katie, what?
KDP Select, it's when you say that I am only publishing on Amazon, and I believe their novella, their serial novella series, the Kindle novella, does not allow publishing outside Amazon. So when you're uploading to Amazon, make sure you're paying attention to every little box you check to make sure whether you can go wide or not. That's for ebooks, yes.
KDP stands for Kindle Direct Publishing. And if you are a member of that, you can, if as readers, if you are signed up and paid for KDP, you get paid for how many pages are read by each person every month. But you have to be exclusive to Amazon Kindle in order to qualify for that program. It's a box you check when you're uploading your book, KDP or not.
Just real quick, it's my understanding that until recently, authors were charged if a reader sent the book back even in electric form, but that has been changed and are no longer doing that.
Right. And I don't know what they finally came with, but yeah, people were reading an entire series and sending it back for credit. Now I think if you read more than 50 pages, you don't get a refund because you're enjoying that book.
And it has to be returned in 7 days.
Yes, yeah, you don't get a year to read it. So yeah, they woke up to that, and that's an author coalition that brought that to their attention. And supposedly that's been resolved. I haven't had any issue.
So middle grade books are popular for ebooks, but I did an ebook for my book, and I did it on KDP. And part of the reason for doing that is if you have Kindle Select, they give you 5 days out of a quarter where you're able to offer your book for free. So you're able to put on your website an advertisement, hey, look at my book, it's free today, go ahead and download it. So from a newbie author point of view, I almost have millions of people potentially would be interested in downloading it. People like free books. And you're just kind of hoping you catch people to download it. And for me, I think parents or grandparents reading my book might go and then spread the word. So their KDP Select isn't something you should just exclude because you have to be exclusive to Amazon. Amazon's huge. It's a monster.
Would you explain what middle grade is? You've mentioned it several times.
Middle grade, everything, we have to categorize our books. When you go to put your book in Ingram Sparks or Amazon, they make you say what your book is. A middle grade book is from 8 to 12. A children's book might be from toddler to 6. Young adult YA is from 12 to 16 or 18. And then you hit all the genres where you have to be, what genre do you write? Action, adventure, romance, and so you're categorizing yourselves. My book, I think, is an outlier. It's something an adult could read and actually enjoy. But I'm forced to call it a middle grade book because if it's going to be on Amazon, I have to put down a category. So it's really written for an 8 to 12-year-old, but it's an outlier. And for a self-publisher like myself, I think I have an outlier book. If I were to go and try to find a literary agent, or if I were to try to go with corporate publication, they would just say, no, you're not right for us. You don't fit the market. You're not part of the scheme that we see we can sell. So that's why I think we can say things about KDP or Amazon being big and bad, and I just did. But you know what? They gave me an opportunity to distribute a book and compete with the big publishers. So. Middle grade is, but we all have to categorize our work, and I don't think any work ever fits all the categories perfect, just like people. We all categorize people, none of us ever fit into how we would categorize.
So I'm published through Ingram Sparks, And currently, they are offering a special rate for no fee to upload the book. And the ISBN's $80. And so that's through, I think, November. And they send it out to 40,000 venues. And of course, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, my book's currently on the Nook as well as the Kindle. And I've had a number of global sales, in the UK. So I highly recommend Ingram Sparks, but I also highly recommend having a professional editor and really good cover design is something done professionally that way.
Right, does anybody else have a question?
What you said, ma'am, about the editor, that's one of the things that I found out right in the very beginning. And I said, don't edit your own work, get somebody else to do it. And along that line of editors is, if you're writing a book, get 4 or 5 beta readers too. Yeah. Right, yeah, and I have 4 regulars and a backup editor and a proofreader. So, oh yeah, that's very important, every bit of it.
So a beta reader is not an editor, doesn't do copy editing or anything like that. They're reading the book more or less to give you feedback, does it make sense, how the story flows, and of course if they pick up any major errors or gaps, that's what they're looking at it for, right?
Yes.
So you would agree?
Yeah, when I wrote this one, because I did some research before, or actually when I started writing, I said I better know what I'm doing here. And they said that average full-length novel was 70 to 100,000 words, and I topped out on the rough draft at 105. And I gave it to an editor, and she slashed 15,000 words off the top, and she said, find some beta readers. Right.
I use the word that.
There were whole entire pages. She said, Terry, no, cut this one out. And one quick thing here is, and actually in this 3rd book, I did what I thought was really good, and 2 beta readers came back. One of them said, that part is boring. And the other one said, I'm familiar with that. It was very interesting, but it didn't add to the story. Cut it out. So I did, and I cut out probably 1,500 words, and I said, oh, geez, I really like that. But no, they were both right. And that's editors, beta readers, that's what they'll do for you. Yeah, it might sound really good, but it doesn't add to the story. Throw it out, get rid of it. Or this scene's okay. Oh, another quick one too is this guy and this girl in my mind. See, I see everything in my mind, then I write it down. And he meets this girl and he tells her that, I don't like your name. Actually, I'll tell you what it is. Her name was Francine, and he said, I don't like that name, Francine. I'm going to call you Fran. She says, nobody calls me Fran. He said, well, I don't like Francine. I'm going to call you Fran. And he was joking. Beta readers did it, and they killed me. He said, this guy is a jerk. I would never date. I said, but he was joking. It doesn't come through that way. It comes through, he's a jerk. Do not. I had to change the whole, every instance where something like that came up, I had to change his whole attitude towards her. I don't know how to write comedy, so okay, it was very serious, and he became very nice. You like Francine? That's what I will call you. So he called her Francine for the rest of the book. And I don't even like that name, but there was a reason I put it in there, and so, okay. Because she was a twin, a guy and a girl, and he was Francis, so she was Francine. and that's why. But the thing is, you need beta readers, and you need an editor to come in, and I'll tell everybody, don't worry about the punctuation, don't worry, spell check, and spell checkers aren't perfect. They really do mess up, and I had a couple of them and still have found a lot. I said, my proofreader will take care of all that. You just look at the storyline, tell me what doesn't work, tell me what does work. I will rewrite it, and then I'll send to the proofreader, we'll see.
Yeah, and also, just being sure what type of editing you're getting, because there are so many different types of editors, and if you're looking for
Story
someone
editing,
that's
line
like a grammar
editing,
teacher on
proofreading,
steroids,
yes.
You're gonna wanna copy an editor, right?
Yep.
And then it's so important to get a good illustrator.
Oh, there, we have a question up front, too.
Up front.
I saw her hand first. Oh.
What do you pay your beta readers? You don't?
I give them a book, I give them credits.
Okay. Okay, so they,
I give them a book and put their name in the acknowledgments.
okay.
Now, proofreaders and professional editors, there's two ways. They will charge you by the word or by the page. And if there are empty pages or the title page in there, which only has a few words in it, they charge you for a page because they have edited that page. But when they go by the word and a and at and u, which is three, they charge by the word, even if it's I went to a store. That a is a word, adds to it, and they charge.
Wow, that could get expensive. I just thought being a beta reader might be an interesting thing to do while I'm retired.
They have paid beta readers out there. Put yourself on Fiverr. I'm sorry.
I know no question is never a dumb question.
As a teacher, can confirm.
But when you first started and you started doing your research to start writing, where did you go and what exactly did you do?
I'm so glad you asked, because I would like to tell you where to go. No, no, because I was actually gonna bring this up, so this was the perfect segue. So for me, I went to a website called Reedsy, REEDSY.com, Reedsy.com. And you can go on there and you can pretty much hire anybody that you need to make your book happen. So you can go on there, you can hire a cover artist. My cover was made by a very awesome lady that I met on Reedsy, did beautiful work. And they always will have a profile where they'll showcase their work. So if you like somebody's style or whatever, then you have that opportunity to see that. You can also go on there to hire somebody to format the interior of your book if you need to. You can go on there and hire somebody to edit. I found an editor on Reedsy myself.
Can you spell Reedsy again?
Yeah, sure. Reedsy, R, Romeo, E, Echo, D, Delta, S as in Sam, Y as in Yankee. You're welcome. And let's see, I think you can go on there, I can't remember what else, but you can go on there and pretty much find anybody that will, do something for your book. And if you're a person that likes audio books as well, if you want to kind of pair your book with, having an audiobook made of your book, Amazon has, and I'm gonna, is it ACX? Oh man, I'm gonna forget. It's like ACX, is that right? Okay, ACX, you can go on there and hire an audiobook narrator, and that's how I got somebody to narrate my book as well, and you put it up on Audible, so you can also go that route with your books as well. So Reedsy is the main one that I know of, and then you can always do a Google search or you can go to my current editors that I use are two lovely ladies living in Georgia that I met at the Romance Writers of America conference a few years ago. So always go to a writers conference if you can afford it. And yeah. Anybody else?
I was just going to add, Reedsy has information. They have articles and blog posts about anything you ever want to know about writing, about getting started, about, it's a great blog, but Google anything, it's out there.
Thank you.
You've also got a lot of wonderful writers organizations in Hampton Roads. You've got Hampton Roads Writers, you have the Chesapeake Bay Writers. They are constantly holding workshops on craft, how to publish, self-publishing, how to query, all kinds of stuff. So get on those websites and look around. The Writers Guild of Virginia is also in the area. James River Writers is in Richmond, if anybody is up from Richmond way. So I would definitely reach out, because that way you can get some local connections that can help you navigate some of these online sites and through the process as well. And then when you're finally published, they can help get you into different events and different venues too. Sure. Okay, so Virginia Romance Writers, so they're the RWA regional and state. They're one now? Okay. I was going to say, and then there's Chesapeake as well. And then they also have an online romance writers group, OIRW. It's like Online International Romance Writers, if you're a romance writer, that you may want to look at connecting with too.
I just wanted to pass on my experience in finding an editor. I made a mistake. I waited too long. I finished my manuscript. I had it pretty well done. And what you do is you send your manuscript out to editors to get demonstration editors to see if they click with them. The first woman I sent it out to, boy, nice edits. I loved it. I'd found my editor, and I said, I want to hire you. And she says, I have a year-long waiting list. So too late. Then I go on the hunt, and I get editors that they're rewriting my work, so I don't connect with them. It's not easy. But what I ended up doing is on Facebook, there's a site called Ask an Editor. Early on, go ahead and join Ask an Editor and just follow the postings that people make about, is this written well, and look at the editors and what they put for comments. That I ended up finding an editor where I posted something that I was not really comfortable with in my own manuscript, and she came back with a wonderful answer. So it's the woman I ended up going with, and it was because it was Facebook's Ask an Editor. Don't wait till you're done. Go ahead and what do you call it? Look in, lurk on Ask an Editor. Lurk on sites where you can see these people. If you wait till you're done, you're going to hit the person you're like. They'll say, wait a year.
So you mentioned you're writing children's stories. An excellent national organization is the Society for Children Book Writers and Illustrators, SCBWI or IW? IW? Okay. Yeah. They have so many resources. I don't know how many are mystery writers here, but Sisters in Crime, and we allow misters in. They have tons of videos you can upload. They've got workshops going once or twice a month. Just get around and be other writers and you'll figure it out. It's not hard. It's a little scary, but it's not hard.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I wouldn't say I'm a new writer. I'm a lifelong writer. But I've never published anything. I just happened to see this in my Instagram feed promoted, and I said, oh, I guess God wants me to be here. So I'm really interested. I'm glad that the woman in the front mentioned about, being new to the field and any advice that you all have. I'm very interested. I consider myself a nonfiction writer, and I will be attending the event on Thursday that's talking about writing about the unspeakable. And so that's kind of where I am. And I've always been a journal writer. And through my therapy journey, I am now documenting it to be my book, my memoir. And it looks like it's going to turn into multiple books, really just uncovering a lot of repressed childhood things. And so I'm really excited about getting into it, but I just was wondering from some of the nonfiction writers, I think there's 2 up here, I would love to get you all's feedback on how you even go, like I know how I want to write it and I've already started typing it up, but I have no clue, and I'm glad you all mentioned about associations and things like that, because I really want to get more into the community and have support while I'm going on this journey, so thank you.
Well, you're at the right place at the right time, because you could get a lot of feedback here and support. But to me, I always say just write, okay? No matter what, you write. And then Google is my friend, okay? Google is my friend. Never go to the first source, never. Always try to get some additional information. So you have friends, like when I had one of my, one of the pastors in my church, he wrote, I think, 3 books now. And he introduced me to the publisher that he started with. So he just said, just write. And then I just wrote, and then when I felt that it was time, I picked up the phone and I called the company, you know. And like I said, Google is my friend, and try to find out from other persons what they have done to get, you know, like people from you're doing nonfiction, biography, memoirs, you know, and start that way. Don't just go with one person. Just try to find out, get feedback from different persons. Decide where you want to publish. Remember your pocketbook. That's one thing. Remember your pocketbook. Like I said, I have the experience of spending, I think it was $3,000 the first time. And they told me, oh, this is you're on the elite bestseller list. No, don't go by that. And they send you these but see, I'm a fighter, so a long list of emails of different places, different publishers and all that. They were all out of date. They had changed and everything. It was no good. So I called back the company and I said, wait a minute, I'm trying to contact this company, blah, 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 so and so. They had to send me back the money, refund the money back, because they were bogus. See what I'm saying? So don't ever just go by one person. You know, so once you have your writing down, find somebody to trust. That's Terry over there. You see what I'm saying? Get in contact with the authors who have been there. You've done that, especially Rachel. You know, Rachel, so how in the world, tell me about it. You know, so get business cards and all that. And then you will know, like you said, the Lord led you a certain place. You will know, just, you know, I always say pray on it, you know, so pray on it and, you know, find people you trust. You know what I'm saying? And don't send your work everywhere. Please don't do that. Please don't do that, you know. And make sure they know how to spell. Send it to a third person, your friends, who have good intentions towards you. So keep that little circle there, you know. And Google is your friend to find out stuff, you know. But like I said, I've learned through experience what to do, how to guard my pocketbook. You know, I don't get a lot of royalties, but that's because I'm in the Kindle Direct Select program, and people from Japan and Australia and all that. And when I look at that little bar, and it's, oh my gosh, 7 people read my book. That means another 7 people could read the book. You see what I'm saying? And I'm simple, okay, so I'm a simple person. So, okay, well, here's 7. The other day, I put the book that I'm going to showcase, I put it on Instagram, with the link from the library. 149 read it. I said, woohoo! No one had read it before in all this time. You know what I'm saying? So you have to go ahead and, you know, and just get advice from people that you know, will eventually going to trust. Don't watch out for people who want to, you know, get your money, you know, who have no intentions towards you, you know, and don't let anybody change your thoughts at all. I mean, I don't know if I went all over the place because I'm a talker. This isn't telling me that. I'm a talker, but you know, I just have so much to say, but just be careful. Be careful, and once you write, start on your next one too. Go ahead. I'm doing two. I'm doing my husband's memoir. I'm finishing that, and the second part of this book, and another one too. I think it's 3 of them. You know what I'm saying? But keep on writing because it's in you, and it's going to come out. So go publish.
We have a comment on Vanity Press.
So there are publishers out there that you pay money in advance to get all this work done for you. True self-publishing, which is what this is, I paid somebody to do the cover because I can't do this kind of graphic design. Cost me $70. At that time, I bought 100 ISBNs, so I bought 10 ISBNs for $100. So this book cost me $80 to publish. Anytime they print it, it's about $350. But when you go, they call it Vanity Press because I don't know who your publisher is. If you have to pay somebody to do all this for you, then sometimes it's really hard to get that money back because I know somebody who paid $10,000 to get her book published, and she didn't get close to that. So keep that in mind. Like you said, keep an eye on your pocketbook as you go to all these things. I just wanted to add one more thing to the lady in the back who needs to get into some groups. Check into the Muse Writers Center down in Norfolk. They offer some great memoir writing classes and some other events. And then Hampton Roads Writers has a conference every September, and they just had it a couple weeks ago, and they had a complete memoir track where you can talk to people who are writing. So the resources are here in this community. You don't have to go far, but then you have online too. But so the average self-published book, I just pulled this off the internet yesterday, sells less than 250 copies. 90% of self-published books sell less than 100 copies. And what that gets down to is when you self-publish, you have to do all the marketing. You have to sell these books. You have to get them in front of people. There are over 2,700 books published each day. That's worldwide. So it's really, really hard to get your foot in the door. Yes, your friends and family are going to buy books. Hopefully they'll tell people about them. But then there are books like 50 Shades of Grey. That was a self-published book. That one took off. I just found out that Beatrix Potter's first book, what's the name of it? Peter Rabbit. That was originally self-published back in the day, and that turned out to be successful. So yes, there are some success stories. There's a lot of work, and there could be a lot of money involved. That's your choice. But you can do it all yourself. You don't have to pay anybody. You can do it all yourself. Just keep that in mind.
Vanity presses, too. I looked at one, and they'll give you an encyclopedia of rules. And one of the lines was, should the book be successful and make any money, we now own the copyrights. So there you go. You're doing all the work. They do it. They promote your whatever. And if you hit 50 Shades of Grey and you've gone through a Vanity Press, they may have a line in there saying it's not your book anymore. So really beware of Vanity Presses.
And I'll give you a good way to find a Vanity Press. Not only do they have really expensive packages, but the second you upload your copyright into the Library of Congress or into the U.S. copyright system, you get about 10 emails from a bunch of different publishers. And that's because they're buying the email list that's coming through those systems offering to publish and distribute your book. So, you know, I have yet to find a reputable one in that group. So be very cautious if they approach you saying, we heard you're writing a book or whatever. If it's not from a professional network person or a family member or friend that really knows the industry, be cautious of it. And even when you're working with traditional or small presses or whatever route you choose to go, read any contract you sign, whether it's for a book cover, whether it's for formatting. You need to understand who owns what, who gets paid what, and how things will go down business-wise. You know, because even people with good intent, you may not realize you're surrendering, you know, a certain right where you want the film rights, but you just handed it over to the publisher. You limited your audiobook rights or something along those lines. So always read before signing anything.
And nobody, I'm interested, to publish my book, I formed a company, an LLC. The fact of the matter is, as soon as we go to this book show and sell a book, the IRS is going to want its money. So you become a businessman. You may not want to be a businessman, but you're a businessman. And to do that, you need a business license. You're either a sole proprietor or you become an LLC. You can't do it without having an EIN number. You can't do it without having a business bank account. So there's no being a self-publisher without taking on the business aspects of it, which can be a nightmare. And for my book, the first chapter I wrote, they went in a sled and they launched themselves, and the female protagonist went head first. And somebody said to me, well, what if a real kid does that in real life and kills themselves, and then somebody read the book and they sue you? Is that possible in this country? Absolutely, yes. So if you, and I think other people could say if they're an LLC or not, but if you're an LLC, somebody sues you for whatever reason, and the most common reason is she stole my book. I wrote that first, and she took it, I'm suing her, and I win. The LLC separates my personal finance. They can't get at my personal account. I'll fold my business and say I'm bankrupt. So I guess other people can say what they've done.
So I wanted to speak to the nonfiction thing real quick, and then I'm going to hand it to Rachel because I know Rachel wanted to say something. I think if you want to try to be traditionally published with nonfiction, I know a lot of times, I've talked to some people, I've never done it myself, but a lot of times if you have your idea up front, you can write a proposal, and then you can send your proposal out to different like nonfiction presses and stuff like that. Now, I don't know any off the top of my head, so that would be a Google search. But I do know that you can do that. So you don't even have to really necessarily have a book written as far as nonfiction goes. Just have the idea ready to go, and then, you know, hopefully that, you know, somebody will bite. But now Rachel has something to say.
I have kind of a different perspective. It depends on what your goal is for this book. So most of the people at this table, their goal is to sell a lot of books. That was not necessarily my goal. My goal was to express myself and to be able to put something out there and to share something with others. And it sounds like, you know, a lot of times the nonfiction is that. So I do think that you have to think about that when you're thinking about how you're publishing and how you're promoting is, what do you really want? If you're wanting to sell a lot of books, you may have to hire somebody to help you market and that kind of thing. But if you're really just trying to get your word out, it may not be as complicated.
Yeah, I think he made a great point. You have to determine what is your goal for publishing, and we all have different goals. Now, mine is to make money, and like for the next book that I'm writing, I'm launching it on the Hampton Road Show, and that's not till February. But you know, I've already been booked for being aired on February 7th, so that puts a little pressure on you too. But, and one more thing, Upworks. Anybody use Upworks for illustration? No.
No, but may I say that the one that you're talking about, right? Right. I know another editor, and she was helping me out with my dissertation. She told me about that. She said it's very good, and you could, you know, sell your material there and everything. She told me that it was good, so I'm just telling you from
Yeah,
her
it is good
perspective.
because you can name your price.
Right, right.
And you can pay them by the hour. You can just say, you know, I want my cover design, I'll
Right,
give you
right.
$50.
Right.
And they'll either take it or not take it. But, you know, I use an illustrator in Pakistan, and
Right,
it's a
right.
great price, and he does wonderful work.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, I bought it, yeah, it's mine.
Right.
Yeah, you have to,
Right.
you have to make sure for your
Yeah.
illustrations that you get a contract that says the author now owns sole rights to this
Yeah.
illustration, period. And
But-
a lot of it depends.
But going back to what Rachel said, Raquel, when I say I'm simple, I guess you elaborated on what I wanted to say is because I'm not there to make millions of dollars publishing books. But, you know, you do want to, you know, make your money back, right? But if no one sees it, how am I going to spread this? Right. So when I say simple, it's I'm okay when I see that one or two people look and read. See what I'm saying? And the royalties, depending how much you want to sell your book, you know, I'm low. I'm very, very cheap, and you know all that. So, but you know, you get pennies. You know, through Kindle Direct, you get pennies. But that's fine because you know that people are reading and are going to be blessed, healed by your words. See, because that's important to me. You know, and I know what you have, Harry Potter and all of those. You know, they got millions of dollars. And what am I going to do with all those millions of dollars instead of giving to you? Giving to you.
I could think there's a lot to do with millions of dollars. Now, I just want to address very quickly here, you know, the business aspect. When you publish and start selling, it really is a business. And yeah, I said earlier, I put my name on everything I do. I have rental property. That is a non-licensable business, but I'm a building contractor. I have a state license. I have a city license. And at one time, I was state licensed in 4 different states. The one thing we did when this book came out, we immediately went down, got a business license here in Newport News, and we had federal ID numbers, like you said. So, as a matter of fact, somebody talked to me last week, can you just sell me one under the table? I said, you don't understand. My wife, every time we place an order, she knows exactly how many of those books come in, and if we're ever audited, we will have to account for every single book. No, I can't sell you under the table. I have to collect sales tax on it. So he was kind of joking because he knows my wife and knows how she is. But yeah, she keeps extremely accurate records. And if we donate a book, we have to pay sales tax on that, which I said, it's an expense. She said, it's still a book and still, as far as, you know, the tax code, it's a sale. We didn't pay sales tax when we bought it. But when we sell it, and if we donate it, then we have to pay sales tax. Yeah, it is a business, is the bottom line. So yeah, just be careful if you do publish and start selling. And we're audited regularly, and every single time, because of my wife, I'm able to sit here instead of talking to you behind bars, because she is an excellent bookkeeper.
I personally have successfully lost a lot of money doing this book, and because I'm an LLC, it's tax deductible. So if I lost $5,000, it comes off my taxes. I save $2,000 on my income tax. So I think for the first 3 years, you're expected to lose money. Yeah, you got to pay for formatters, editors, illustrators, advertising, a business expense. So that. Well, they're going to make me declare every sales tax thing, then the rules are the rules. I get my tax deduction.
So you're saying basically when you first start, while building
I want to caution people. I want to caution people on deductions and how you approach your first couple years of writing. You do need to manage it like a business if you're in this for profit, okay? But I also want to tell you the IRS has no problem holding you to a hobby standard as a writer compared to other professions. So if you are going to launch this and you're going for major profit, be sure to look at the IRS requirements for deductions on authors. Authors are put through the ringer compared to other people. You're going to have a much higher documentation standard compared to the average business owner if you were manufacturing t-shirts or something. Okay, so you want a tax professional guiding you as you're setting up some stuff, if you're starting to claim stuff on your federal taxes, especially if you're having a loss year after year, because then the IRS is going to go prove to me that you're a full-time writer with an intent to make profit. And some writers, especially if you don't keep good records and you can't show you're doing it 40 hours a week and treating it as a job, have trouble doing that. So please, be very careful. Treat it like a business, but get good guidance when it comes to the tax aspect and the financial aspects.
Okay, so now that you went into that topic, I actually have two questions. The first one, I apologize, I missed the first few minutes. So I'm not sure, did you all already talk about Book Baby? And then my second question then is, when you're talking about the business aspect, where do you find all those I's that you need to dot and all the T's that you need to cross? Where is there some breakout of everything that you need to cover financially?
Do you know how many books on writing and publishing there are out there? I think they're the only ones making money at this business. You can find so many on how to run a writing business, how to write a book, how to get published. They're all out there. As far as Book Baby, are you talking about advertising on it?
No, having them publish a book.
I've never heard of Book Baby.
Book Baby is actually a publishing company. It's a printer, but they offer various services, editing. Actually, out of curiosity, I sent one of my books. They have a site there. I didn't send the book to them, but it was the number of pages and the number of words. And gosh, to edit whichever one I sent to them, it was like $1,700 just to do an edit on that. But they can design your cover, they can print your book, they can edit it for you, proofread it, and all of that's a kind of editing. It's a proofreading, line editing, copy reading, and so on. And there's a different level for each one of those, a different charge for it. But Book Baby can do the whole works for you. They're kind of expensive, but everything that I know, and I don't know everything about them, but everything I know, they seem to be legitimate. But that, as far as any publishing company, find out where they're located, contact the Better Business Bureau. Some are actually registered with their local Better Business Bureau, and if they've got 5 reviews and 4 of them are good and one's bad, you can't please everybody. But yeah, if 4 of them are bad and one's good, then I wouldn't hire them. And so.
Is it worth it though to do something like Book Baby, or is it a waste of money?
Yeah, that's a good answer. How many books? I would pick one that's less expensive than them. That's the best answer I can give for that. There are other good ones out there. Yeah, that's it, depending on your audience. The larger your target audience, the chances are you'll sell more books and recover your, I'll call it, investment. I'll pass it.
There used to be a website, I imagine it's still active, it's called Editors and Predators. They do a really good job of keeping up with which editors and predators are real and which are scams and everything in between.
I wanted to do an in-color version of my book. I wasn't going to distribute it. I just wanted to do it at book fairs. And I did go onto the Book Baby site, and you can put in the numbers for, the kind of paper you want and how many books you want. And my recollection is when I priced that book out, it was coming to like $35 a book. Whereas the same book printed but not distributed by Ingram Spark is $12.99. So you got to look and check and search. But Book Baby, I think, may be extremely high priced.
Hey. So, Sally, Jane, you know, mechanics, I wish I had left 25 minutes ago when it sounded like it was really simple. Right around Ingram Sparks, you had me, and now I'm all confused again. But I noticed that with your books, sometimes you use your own publishing company, sometimes you're somewhere else. I'm not sure how you publish it and then give it to Ingram Sparks. The mechanics are really wild. Plus, how do you decide about covers? Do you? You gotta come up with the idea if you truly self-publish. Yeah.
Even I think no matter who publishes it,
You have to have the concept in your head. It's still your concept. So you tell your graphic designer what you're thinking and you work through that process.
Okay. So you asked me if I have a question. This is my weird question because I'm a little bit autistic, okay? How do you know what your cover is going to feel like? I've felt some books that I don't want to buy with covers.
Okay.
I know that sounds weird, but did you know what your cover was going to feel like? I'm sorry, I just had to ask.
You get a proof copy. You get a proof copy. But yeah, it depends. You get your glossy. Yours are more glossy than mine. He's got the glossy. I've got the flat. And this is the Mac. This is Amazon. But there's, yeah.
Thank you.
So again, that's a publisher's decision. If it's your own and you go through Amazon, you have these two choices.
You get glossy or not glossy?
Yes.
Matte or glossy? Matte or glossy?
No, they're the same price. It's just the look you want.
You know, I will say if you go through, get samples, like Ingram Sparks matte, because I'll alternate between matte and glossy depending on what I'm publishing and how much I think fingerprints are going to show on it based on the colors that are in the cover. And like matte from Amazon feels kind of like regular paper, but when you get matte from Ingram Spark, it feels kind of like a suede or a leather in your hands. So it's definitely important to order author proofs or get with authors that have different ones that may have display copies for going on shows or something that they don't mind somebody handling. Be like, hey, do you mind if I ask where you ordered your books? And, you know, for me, feel of the cover is just as important as appearance. Would you mind if letting me touch the cover or something? More understanding of it, because we all have little things like that that are important to us.
So if I see you on Saturday, go in and touch it.
One concept about publishing is if you self-publish, you're the publisher. KDP is your distributor, Ingram Sparks your distributor. You 100% own all the rights, royalties, and everything to your book. You can take it down from them and take it away. They don't own it, you do. They're your distributor. They work for you.
I don't necessarily have a question.
Just a little add-on.
On what you were asking. You were asking about the publisher and the texture of the books and the feel in the cover. How do we figure that out? The publisher that I was working with, ENEL Publishing, he has an academy services talking about how to process and go through all of these different steps and stages. But one of my biggest things was I always have it in my head, but I can never articulate exactly what it is I want. So I use a lot of words. I'm very elongated with my words, and people always tell me, I don't need a dissertation, I just need a yes or no. But I go all the way around the mulberry bush. So when I did my first book, I told him what I wanted and how I wanted to look. The vision in my head, it was just there, but it was just, the words were not coming out. And so he gave me 3 different samples. And the first one, I was like, oh. The second one, I was like, he's closer, but not quite there. The third one, I just literally stopped right where I was and started crying because it was exactly what I wanted. I felt it. So when it first came, I was like birthing my first child. And it was just that great. So I loved all my covers, every last one. I gave my idea. Love them so much. screenshot cover. Do every time I go somewhere, I just make sure I have my vision in mind. But what I started out with originally, before I started writing my things, is different from what I ended up with, because it carried the weight. He also had to read some of my work to kind of get an idea of who I was as a writer. So, yeah. I write poetry, realistic poetry, about factual things that happen with me, and trauma, as we talked about a little bit. Some things about experiences, life, nature, ancestral things of that nature. And then I wrote, my third book was about quirky quotes, because I'm from the country, so it's like from the root to the toot to the boot, please don't shoot, goddammit, that kind of thing. So it also goes from ages 18 up, because some of the things are a little bit more sensitive, yeah.
Can you all speak to copyrights in Library of Congress?
From what I understand,
My book is filed with the Library of Congress, and I do have a copyright.
right. Did you send it in, or?
Yeah. Copies.
Yeah.
And a copyright.
Yeah, you can do that, technically. As soon as you write it, it's copywritten. The problem is, if anybody copies it, you have to be able to prove that that's what you've written. So that's the Library of Congress. How much did that cost you, do you know?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I know there's a fee, $65 for that.
Reasonable enough to do.
But there's other ways to do copyrights, too.
Did you go through the author pre-pubs? Do you say it was self-published? Right? And how did you get to? You have to go through pre-pub with the Library of Congress. We're going through. We're near divorce over this right now. So I'm trying to get it. So how?
My wife.
Right, and you go and you have to go in and they do the pre-pub, and then you wait a couple weeks and it comes back? Okay.
You have to send them 2 copies.
You have to send them?
You have to send 2 copies.
Okay. And they hard. Okay.
You don't have to send 2 copies anymore.
That's what I thought. I thought you don't have to.
Yeah, that since with the advent of ebook growth, the Library of Congress and the U.S. copyright don't require the 2 copies anymore. You can go right with an electronic copy or PDF or Word document, whatever you sent through the U.S. copyright, and you will meet it. You don't have to send to the Library of Congress unless you want a number.
What if they are already published and being sold? It's not under pre-pub. Can you still do it? Oh, who was saying? I thought it was. It's been a long year. It's been a very long year. Okay. This is what we've been doing for a couple days. So, can you hear me? Yes. All right. So, if the book has already been published and is out there actually for sale on Amazon and available through Ingram Spark, yet the site, and you go into the Library of Congress, it specifies pre-pub. Can you still put that book in, even though it's already published, and get it to the Library of Congress and put it through pre-pub, even though it's technically published? I can't find the answer to this anywhere. Pardon me?
For copyright, you're supposed to do it in 90 days, but I think they'll let you go up to a year. But for Library of Congress, they have a different set of rules. I'm not sure.
Okay, so nobody. This is something. Okay, all right.
Here's something. I read. There's something called a Library of Congress control number.
But it's already
easy to get. You go to the author, you apply. They'll give you a Library of Congress control number. It means pretty much nothing, because it does not mean that Library of Congress is going to take your book. As far as an independent self-published author goes, none of them ever make it into the Library of Congress collection unless they become exceptional, like 50 Shades of Grey. But what people will do is they'll put their LCCN number in on their book, and it just means that you've applied for a Library of Congress control number, and you'll never get into the Library of Congress unless you do. But for your book actually has to be read by somebody in the Library of Congress, reviewed, approved, and then put on a shelf. So they'll want a physical copy. So Does anyone have their book in the Library of Congress?
No. Yeah, I had a real publisher for my first book. By real, I mean they did it all and then they paid me. So that was a beautiful thing. It didn't cost me a cent. But they did put it in the Library of Congress and they did send it out to libraries all over the country. And then they sold to Amazon and they didn't want any more of my books. So I'm an orphan. I call myself a book orphan. But I just wanted to reiterate real quick, I know we're running out of time. When you publish, when you self-publish, every single decision is yours, not just cover copy. You have to design the pages. You have to pick the font. You have to pick the trim size. We're all different sizes up here. You have to do the headers and footers on each page and page numbers. All of these decisions are in your hands. There's all kinds of manuals. Actually, Kindle has a really good, I think it's a free download or 99-cent download on step-by-step formatting your book for Amazon. So the information's out there, but these books don't just appear. It's a lot of work, but it's, like I said, it's a lot of fun to hold it.
I copyright all mine just because I'm OCD, and I copyright as soon as the book, the same day I hit publish, it's uploaded into the U.S. copyright system, so that way I don't have to worry about that 90-day window or getting it in within a year. The day I submit, because it's active publish, is the day same day it goes to the Copyright Office. Costs $65 a filing now. It used to be $35, but they raised it the past couple years.
I never copyrighted my book. My book was copyrighted the second I wrote it. I own it. I never registered my copyright yet with the government. Registering my copyright only gives me a little bit of added protection should somebody sue me and say that I stole their book. Your work, any original work, is copyrighted when you produce it. So you need to prove when you wrote it. So maybe hold your book and take a picture with the paper, or people send things, or if it's on your computer, you have a computer. But when you create it, whether it's for my book, my illustrator created my characters. She created them. She owned the copyright to them. My idea. I'd like these kind of dogs looking like this. I didn't own the copyright to my own characters because she created them. I had to buy copyrights from her. But I wrote the book. These were my words. They're my original creation. It's copyrighted when I write it. I just have to be able to argue in a court when I had done it. So.
No, I wanted to say something, but not copyright. Anybody else copyright?
It must have gone up because I paid $35, but the last time I did copyright was 2 years ago, right? So that's a big jump from 35 to, what is it, 65? 65, is it?
It's 65 right now. They just raised it a year or two ago.
Right, yeah, so that must be it, because it was $35, and every work that you have. Now, after that, they will send you your certificate, so that certificate is with you as legal that you are copyright. But 35, that was a big jump. Okay, I'm missing 2 years.
One of the benefits to getting that copyright certificate is not just legal protection. When you, as an independent publisher, go out and you want to get swag for a book show or something, and you go to a printer shop, they want to see you're the author and that you own copyright, because they don't want to get into trouble for printing book copies or swag with, your name and your logo on, especially if you write under a pen name. So that copyright certificate, you register under both your legal name and your pen name, and you bring it in. I found it heads off a lot of issues with marketing and printing. And then if KDP ever comes to me and says, prove you wrote this book because I got another author saying it, I can just upload that copyright certificate, and they'll hold the ground versus suspending my account temporarily.
I need to get a copyright certificate.
Oh, it looks like we have We have time for about one more question. Have any takers?
If not, I have a comment.
if nobody had a question, I had a comment. Something that, are we Jane or Sally? I'm sorry. Jane, something that Jane said that I wanted to kind of piggyback off of. If you are looking for like a software or anything like that, I have some suggestions if you're interested. Of course, I also like to use like Google Docs and stuff like that. But if you want something a little bit, I guess, you could say it's more sophisticated, there's something called Scrivener that you can use. And it's kind of nice because you can, you know, input like character profiles, and you can have different settings where you have like note cards, you note card your scenes and stuff like that. So it's a good place to kind of organize your thoughts as well.
Can you spell that?
Scrivener. Scrivener. You're welcome. And then the other thing too for formatting is, I don't know if anybody else up here uses it, but I use something called Vellum. Both things, Scrivener and Vellum, are like one-time purchases, but they've been worth it. Vellum, unlimited, right?
Yeah, it's unlimited, but it's only for Mac, so you want Atticus.
Oh, that's right.
If you have a PC.
Atticus if you have a PC, Vellum if you have a Mac, but I have a Mac, so Vellum is like amazing. Vellum, you plug in you upload your document, Word document, whatever, and it formats it for you, pretty much. And you can put chapter headings and different things like that, so you can kind of zhuzh it up, as a friend of mine would say. You can kind of like zhuzh it to make it fancier and stuff like that. So Vellum, which one? Vellum, V as in Victor, E as in Echo, L as in Lima, U as in umbrella, thank you. M as in Monday. I couldn't think of the NATO. Is that Monday? So, do you have Vellum? Or, oh, okay. Now, I'm not sure. The question was about formatting with poetry and different shapes of words. I can't speak to that because I am not a good poetry writer at all. But I think you can pretty much write in Vellum, right? To an extent? Oh, so Vellum will do it.
Shapes like that, you're going to have to PDF it somehow and then upload it to one of the systems, because all the ebook systems, and if you try and format through like Kindle Paper, stuff, they're designed for novels and textbooks. They don't understand how to read that, so you need custom formatting, and then you need to upload a PDF.
And one thing to mention is that formatting for a paperback is different than formatting for an ebook, so be careful when you're doing it to make sure that you build it in the right format for how you're trying to publish it.
I'm sorry to cut in, but unfortunately, the time has flew by, and we'd used it all up tonight. Yes, thank you all for being here. So, I know most of you, except Rachel, are going to be here this Saturday for our local author showcase here at Main Street. It's going to be a very busy day. And if you're interested in our other panel discussions, tomorrow at Pro Bailey Library, we have From Story to Page. And then on Thursday, we have Speaking the Unspeakable. I'm sorry? No, Thursday is at Grissom Library.